Hello everybody, I wanted to do a quick video about how to use the distributive property with sums and differences. So before we do that, let's talk about some vocabulary from Module 2. Greatest common factor, that's the largest factor two or more numbers have in common. And the distributive property is multiplying a sum or difference by a greatest common factor. So I'm specifically looking at problems 23 through 30 on page 36. And that's in the independent practice part of your homework. So let's look specifically at problem number 23, which is 56 plus 64. So if we want to write that as a sum times its greatest common factor, which is what the instructions say on that problem, we're going to start by finding the prime factorizations of 56 and 64. So you can see that I've built a tree diagram and I've circled all my primes. And once all the primes are circled, that's when I know that I'm done and I don't need to factor any longer. And then I did the same for 64. So you can see that I factored it out into factor pairs that equal 64, and I circled my primes as I went through that. So the prime factorization of 56 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 7. And the prime factorization of 64 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Whew, that's a lot of 2's. Then I look to see, what do those two prime factorizations have in common? Well, they each have 3 2's being multiplied together. So I'm going to find the greatest common factor by multiplying what they have in common, which is 2 times 2 times 2, and that equals 8. Remember, it's not 2 times 3. It's 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. So the greatest common factor between 56 and 64 is 8. So I'm going to take that 8 and I'm going to pull it out of the problem and I'm going to put it outside parentheses. So you can see here I have 8 times something plus something else. Those two somethings inside the parentheses are going to come from the quotient of 56 divided by 8 and 64 divided by 8. So here we have 56 divided by 8, that equals 7. And 64 divided by 8, that equals 8. Remember, 8 was the greatest common factor of 56 and 64. So I am dividing both of those numbers by their greatest common factors to see what would be left. And what is left over goes inside the parentheses. So you can see an arrow from 7 to that first addend and from 8 to the second. So dropping those down on the outside of the parentheses is my greatest common factor, which is 8. And on the inside of the parentheses is 7 plus 8. And when I multiply each one of those by 8, I end up with 56 plus 64. So 56 plus 64 equals 8 times the quantity 7 plus 8. So I hope this helps you out. If you still have questions, make sure that you get in touch with me so that we can set up a meeting to work a little bit more on factoring out a greatest common factor. Have a great day.